Hello, everybody. Time for the weekly video. So for this video, I wanted to talk about the economic outlook. Last Friday, I went to an economic outlook. It was specifically for the state of Idaho, since that's where I live, but we did talk about the national outlook, and we also had a executive from the Fed come and talk to us, and she had some pretty interesting things to say. But um, so right now, the biggest issue that's really causing things. The economy is driven by a handful of things, really. Real estate's a big pusher of how the economy doing, fuel prices, and interest rates. Those are some of the biggest key impacts of the economy, right? And I'm going to pull up some charts here in just a minute, but my biggest takeaway from the economic outlook was that the Fed is anticipating to reach a 2% interest rate in the next 18 months to 2 years. So right now we're pretty high. It got pretty high there for a little while, which because of high interest rates, it caused people with money to just stockpile their money away and get interest on it, because basically they didn't have to do anything to get a return on their cash. And so when money is sitting still, it's not driving the economy. Interest rates also being higher also has caused, as we all know, housing market to basically come to a standstill because people can't afford to take out mortgages. And then on top of that, I think pretty much everybody has experienced overvaluation of real estate over the past couple of years. A few states have had a decline, while a lot of states have had increase. Idaho got to be the number one most overvalued real estate for a while, and it still is number one. I think they said we're about 42% overvalued in real estate, but it is starting to come down now. So those are some of the indicators that we're seeing. But yeah, so the biggest thing is the Fed really, it was the lady from the Fed was really hoping or really pushing the fact that the Fed thinks they're going to get back down to that 2% rate. So what does that mean? A little bit about the Fed. The Fed is completely separate from the federal government, but it is the central bank for the U.S. So basically, they don't print money, but they invest in the U.S. government. So basically, the way the Fed works is they're self-funded. They're a bank. They go into the federal government and they buy things like treasury bills and bonds and government bonds and stuff. And so they make their money through investing in the government. And then they also invest in other banks. So like when a bank needs cash for whatever reason, they want to make a bunch of loans, they can go loan money from the Fed at prime rate. So when the Fed's saying that they're going to try to get down to a 2% interest rate, what they're doing is they're taking they're reviewing all their whatever their data is, right? They're reviewing their data and they're using that to drive interest rates back down so that they can get prime back down to 2%, so that then they loan money to other banks at 2%. So then when the banks we go to get a loan, we get the money that they're borrowing from the Fed. And so then our interest rates are like 4% to 6%, or, instead of 10 to 15%, or like on credit cards, 25%. Maybe some of those interest rates are going to start to come down. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so, and show you some of these charts that we are seeing a decrease in some of these things. And as we see decreases in them, that means the economy is going to start recovering. If interest rates come down, people with money will have to put their money in the stock market or buy real estate to get their return on investment instead of just letting it sit in interest. So this is the expected inflation. So you can see here way back in like the early 2000s, we had 3.2. Fed rate. And then it's slowly been coming down to when we got to 2020, when we basically had 0% prime, and everything was coming, interest rates were extremely low. People were refinancing their homes for 2% when the prime rate was 0. And then, it ticks back up into 2022 when we started seeing some of these really high prime rates. And now hopefully they're starting to come back down, and they're hoping to get back to more of a 2% is what they're looking for. So this is the inflation rate, right? That's what this chart is. So they're talking about how inflation and stuff is going on here. They gave me a book here. Maybe I can show that a little bit better on the camera here. So let's see if that might not pop up. No, that's not going to pop up. But basically, what they're doing is because inflation's going down. Let's see. Here's the consumer price index. You can see that this is dropping now. So we're watching the consumer price index come back down. We all experienced overpriced eggs and fuel that got really high and all that stuff, and that's what goes into the consumer price index. Let's see if I can't find a interest chart here so we can actually see where the interest rate is. So here is pull this one up. So here is where'd it go? Okay, so this is the 30-year fixed rate mortgage average. And let's change the dates on this so we can see it a little better. Let's go to like 2010. All right, so here here's the 30-year mortgage rate. It was at 5% way back in 2010. It dropped down here in the 2020, 2021. We got to a pretty 2%. I mean, this is when everybody was refinancing their home, right? So basically prime was at 0. You could get a 30-year mortgage for about 2.5%. Then we skyrocketed. This is what everybody's feeling right now, but we're seeing it starting to come back down, and hopefully we get back to around about 4% for a 30-year mortgage, which means prime is at about 2%. So we are seeing it come back down. They're anticipating to have prime back at a 2% in 18 months to 2 years. So according to the Fed, hopefully no extreme economic factors come into play in the next 18 months to 2 years. But if as long as things go the way they're anticipating and forecasting, we are going to see lower interest rates again. When we have lower interest rates again, that will mean people are spending more money, buying more real estate. The real estate market will pick up again, and that is a big driver of the economy. So anyway, that's kind of my show for today. Hopefully this is helpful as you look to the future and make plans about what you want to do with your investments and money, whether you're wanting to buy real estate or put it in the stock market or whatever. So thank you.